Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing an eyebrow tutorial, how to achieve the perfect yet natural eyebrow. I'm hoping that with this video you will be able to pick out some tips and tricks that will help you in doing your own brows. So if you'd like to get some helpful tips on how to get the best natural brow that you can achieve, keep on watching. Now, before getting into the tutorial, I want to show you guys what I use to do my brows. I use the Anastasia, let's see if this will actually focus. It looks like this. It's the Anastasia Beverly Hills brow, what is it called? Brow Powder Duo. I'll leave the description in the box below in the shade dark brown. And with that, to apply that, I use an angled brush. Oh, this is so filthy. But I use an angled brush that looks like this. Nothing crazy. I actually got this brush out of like a MAC Cosmetics, some sort of like special pack with some sort of character on it, and everything, all of the like numbers and pattern on this is like worn off, so bear with me. And then to set my brows, I only use that. And then to set my brows, I use the Anastasia Beverly Hills Clear Brow Gel. I'm sure you all have heard about this. And again, most of the lettering is rubbed off. Also, I use a concealer. I don't get crazy with it, but I do use a concealer when I have time under my brow to just give me a little extra definition under my brow. And I use... Oh, there's a lot of MAC today. I use MAC Studio Finish Concealer in the shade NC45. It looks like this. It's like a little concealer pot. But you can use whatever concealer you're choosing. And again, I'm using a MAC brush from the same line of brushes I showed you before. But listen, I have no idea like what the collection was called. And I'm just using like a synthetic flat brush to do so, as you can see. And that's all that you need. Those are the products that I use. So grab your stuff and let's get started. So for this video, guys, we are getting up close and personal. I want you to be able to see exactly what I'm doing. So for whatever reason, I always start with my left eyebrow. So I'm gonna pick up the Anastasia Brow Powder Duo in the shade dark brown, and I'm using my angled brush. So the way that this looks, although it's obviously been used extensively, the way that this looks, it has a lighter shade side and it has a darker shade side. I typically use the darker shade side, and then you'll see by the middle or in the inner portion of my brow right here where actually it looks like I naturally have like a natural shade, fade. But just to emphasize that gradual darkness into lightness into the front of the brow, I will actually take both shades together and put that in the front there. So I usually start with the dark shade, so I'm going to add that to my brush. And I start with the top and center here because it's the center point where everything is going to connect. So I follow the natural line of my brow. You can see that there is a natural line here. Obviously it's not shaped perfectly. There are gaps and there are you know, areas that need to be filled in. So I will first make a line with the dark shade above my brow. Now, when I get to the center, I kind of leave this center part alone for right now. Not center, I keep saying center, but the front part of my brow here. Again, we want that to fade. So I'm gonna leave this alone for right now. I'm gonna focus on the middle and the tail to shape it and darken it. From the arch to the tail, I will make a line, just a line. Just like that. And you can see that the tail has some areas where it's sparse. I'm going to connect the arch to the tail on the bottom part as well. Right, like that. So you see we're kind of forming a little triangle here. That's gonna form our tail. So now we're just filling in that piece right there. But we are just going to continue to fill in until we get to the front part here. And again, I am still using the dark shade as I do that. Once I get towards the front, I will start mixing. So I'll start mixing the dark shade with the lighter shade. So what I'm gonna do now that I'm approaching this first third of my brow, I'm going to be combining those colors, the dark shade and the lighter shade onto my brush. And I'm going to create a line. And you can see I'm following the natural hairs. If you can see where my line is more or less where my hairs on my brow start. So that's what I use to guide. And as you can see, I've turned my brush. Now that I'm in the front here, I'm turning my brush vertically like this. So I started off with making a line in this direction. Now I'm turning my brush vertically to create little hairs in the front. And I'm just doing light strokes to fill in that area. Again, don't worry about being perfect right now. We're gonna fix it. So it's a back and forth between creating a line, filling it in, creating a line, filling it in. Now, also when you see that how I'm shading, I'm not shading so that it is opaque. Like I still do want to see some sparseness in my brow because that's what makes it look natural. But obviously, as you can see, it's much thicker than my natural brow. Okay, so this is what we're working with. This is what we're working with, and if we want to go back later and touch up, we can. But for right now, I am going to take the clear Anastasia Beverly Hills brow gel, and I'm going to shape my brow again. So I like to have my hairs in the front of my brow stand up straight, the kind of the way that I have formed them already. And then I like the rest of my brows to just swoop naturally to the end of the tail. So I will go in the front and stack those hairs upward and then brush them, the rest of my hairs, horizontally and down into my tail. And you see how just in doing that, it made my tail more defined and thinner. That's a good thing. You want that, and that's the point of it. The brow gel. That's why it has the spoolie end so that you can manipulate it like you would an eyebrow brush. So I like this shape. I'm gonna go in with the concealer now and clean up some of my mess. All right, so like I said earlier, I use the MAC Cosmetics NC45 Studio Finish Concealer, and I am going to use yes, it's broken. Let's move on. I use this shade, and then I use my flat brush, and I just dip it in ever so slightly, so that the concealer is on the tip of the brush. And I get a good amount on, but I don't want to overdo it. And then I will go in, and I usually, just for me, for personal preference, I like to start with my, with the, what is this? The arch, I don't know, under my brow. And you want to just create a line. I kind of messed that up, but it's all right. You're just going to line the edge of your brow with that concealer. You see how we just created a line and already it looks, my brow already looks more defined? That's great. Now we're going to bring that concealer down so that it doesn't look so harsh. And as we are bringing that concealer down, I've already dipped my brush into the product another time, but as we're bringing it down, we are touching that line that we created to soften that line. I know it's kind of like counterintuitive to like create a line and then semi-erase the line, but it all comes together in the end, trust me. All right, so now that that's blended out, I will sometimes go over top the brow and just do a little bit of concealer on the top. I don't really go crazy with this because I think the more that you use concealer on the top of the brow, the more unnatural it starts to look. So I will just touch up here and there. Again, just doing the same thing like I did on the bottom with just doing a thin line. But I really only do it around the arch. Going into the tail, because that's where I have most of my overgrown hair. So I'll just lightly go in like that, blending upward to blend it out into my skin above my brow. And then I might just take like the excess of what is left on my brush and just do a quick line like this. All right, so I am back. I filled in my right brow just the same way that I did my left. I just threw on, like, literally in like 2 minutes, I just threw on some eyeshadow just to show how it all comes together with the concealer blending into the eyeshadow. All right, guys, that's it. Wasn't that pretty simple? All that we did was really just break up the eyebrow into 3 parts: the front part, the middle part, and the tail. Drawing lines based off the natural shape and contour of our brows and filled them in. That was pretty much it. Obviously easier said than done, and it takes practice, but that's a general principle. Oh, and of course, gradually fading from dark from the tail to the light in the front of the brow. But beyond that, that's it. It's just a matter of technique of turning your brush upwards to create little hairs and sideways to create a thicker and bolder look. But that's pretty much it. I did the same thing on the right brow, and I just threw on a little bit of eyeshadow to show you all how it comes together. But that's basically it. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope you found some tips and tricks that you can use in your own makeup routine, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.